a message in text chat and keep it friendly.
And consistently performing pretty well, Vivid.
Yeah, I mean, they ended last year with a couple of fourth places in Major 2 and Major 3, so placed very, very well last year. But I gotta tell you, that game from them was played so well the entirety throughout, right? Whenever we were kind of looking at the whole lobby in that zone, kind of making the rotates, and people going crazy for high ground, Visual One's Braids, they were just that duo that kept being in the exact same spot no matter how the zone is moving. They were on that front side of the moving zone all the way.
Yo.
Yeah, as all of the chaos kind of unfolded, they just kept it rolling, right? They were healthy, and when there was only a couple of duos left in their way towards the end of the game, they just kind of clutched up and got the elims. But Storm Sickness plays a part early in FNCS plans. Braids was actually going to go ahead and lose this heal. Both the POVs that were actually from there. I think Sphinx was actually like 10 HP ahead, but one tick of Storm Sickness actually came in and took Sphinx out. So Braids and Visuals got the clutch there. First win of FNCS Grants.
That's the way we want to start, right? This is awesome, and we will talk more of that game first. A quick break. When we return, we'll talk about more of what we saw out of number one. So
I ain't through with you. What are you doing creeping around here in the dark? You in with Smalls? Excuse me? Leonard Smalls. Big fella, rides a Harley, dressed like a rock star.
No, sir. That's who we saved him from. It's a long story.
Suppose you tell it.
Well, sir, in a reward situation, they usually say no questions asked. Yeah.
Huh? Damn.
Yes, you got a reward coming.
Like, I'm about to hit slow state, word for bar for bar.
Or
I'm telling you, Rodarius, I get some. Y'all ain't finna swing on my boy Rodarius Wade now. It's my nigga right
that's
there.
the way I'd rather handle it. Tax reasons.
We don't want no reward. We didn't bring him back the money.
We work it that way too.
Did I just look at him a little bit more?
Be my guest, no lady. But, you mind telling me exactly how you...
I got in the way. I stayed by the time I turned 20, I was opening up for gates. Damn! Took out this country, but I'm scared of playing. All the way back in the game with either faded or they still in
My wife had nothing to do with it. I crept in your window.
We both did it. We didn't want to hurt him any. I just want to be mom.
Really what they did is something they
Money or
can
nothing.
wrong.
We just figured you had more than you could do.
But they really want to surprise me and what they do a song. The first thing they asked me, jump the phone,
you need to call the authorities. Nobody's gonna call the authorities. There's no harm done. Thank you, sir.
Couldn't write my
Tell me
own
why you did it.
write a song, such a peaceful life.
Wait,
He left the game.
can't have one of our own.
Kids, gotta keep trying. Hope medical science catches up with you. Florence and me caught up with a vengeance.
What are you doing now?
Even if it never does for you, still got each other.
Hey, play me, kid.
Those are kind words, but I think the wife and I are splitting up. Her point is that we're both kind of selfish and unrealistic, so we ain't too good for each other.
Or we can cook against a humanoid robot? I don't know. Well, I'm doing all this.
Oh,
So you should go follow, because I want to take crazy food experiments and not talk about access, global adventures, and useful cooking tips. Anyway, well, turns out,
you know how many chicken wings? I
trying.
noticed
Not
that
at all.
it's hard for you
If you
because taking
actually
off
really watch our
yeah,
show
the
a
way
little
you
bit,
act,
we actually
please.
showed
Move out the way,
Clicks and
Jamie.
Higgs going up against Peterbot and Pollo, and it was very reflective of what we just saw at the end of game one. This is clearly a strategy that not only Clicks and Higgs had in mind, but Peterbot and Pollo as well. They kind of read Clicks and Higgs, knowing that they were going to take height early, and you saw that when they kind of went for height, Vivid, they didn't necessarily go for height. Instead, it looked like they were going for Clicks and Higgs.
Yeah, exactly right. At one moment, it kind of looked like they could have just kind of like walked up, but they were going instead for the fight, like you mentioned. And this was kind of crazy. Like watching these two duos kind of go head to head for the high ground. It looked like you would try some of this stuff in like a scrim game as opposed to like an FNCS Grand Finals lobby for game number one. Like they just kept going up and up and up and trying again and again and again. And, you know, listen, I had a little, like, a shower thought, I guess you could kind of call it, after watching EU Grands and how kind of successful some of the teams were by not playing for high ground. And my immediate thought was, I was like, man, I kind of hope that Peterbot and Pollo are kind of like the team on NA that we see just not go for high ground and kind of concede it. Because if you take a look at the position that they were at in game number one before they went for high ground, they were so healthy. They could have just kept going with the flow, you know, playing their mid-ground layer. They had 6 eliminations. They were fine. And instead, you kind of get the situation where they go for height, they take the 2v2, and both Clicks and Higgs and Peterbot and Pollo kind of, as the dust settled, neither one of them were in a good spot.
Just terrifying. Terrifying visuals there from the high ground. But, I mean, you know, Viv, I'm here for it. I'm here to see these kind of, these two duos go head to head. That's what I'm here for, man. Excitement. Also, I have to highlight there as well. I mean, Muzz and Sphinx ending that and almost winning it out, right? Storm Sickness kind of being the decision maker there. Love seeing this strong start. There we go. Out of Muzz and Sphinx. This is how I'm excited to talk about Muzz. Can you tell?
I can tell.
But excited to see them.
I mean, who doesn't stutter when we talk about Muzz? I mean, there's a reason why he's our international player.
Go!
But Muzz and Sphinx, once they had the high ground, it looked like it was going to be their game. But honestly, I think it's less of what they did incorrectly and more of the fact that we had Braids on the low ground, getting some eliminations from that other team down below, obviously getting shockwaved into the storm is not going to be the position that you want to be in for Muzz. But Sphinx here, you can see the electricity, meaning that he is going to be taking that storm storm sickness. And unfortunately, that was going to be the difference maker for that victory royale.
Yeah, that overdrive. Maker there, right? If Muzz was actually in a position to go ahead and stop some of that heal off from visuals and Braids could have, you know, helped Sphinx kind of clutch that one up. But hey, first game of Grands, a little bit of jitters, would not be surprised. Taking a look at the leaderboard here, though, our top 10, kind of what we expected, right? Cold and Rapid find themselves in 6th place right there. Didn't really see too many like highlights from them, but obviously made it into the end game, you know, far enough to still be placed up for tie.
Cold and Rapid sticking to the low ground, as we know that they love to do. But as you were saying, not necessarily the game that they probably wanted from game number one, but still getting things warmed up right now. We do kind of expect a little bit more aggression coming out from them. But I think everyone was kind of just trying to feel out how the low ground was being played right there, because there was a lot of chaos going on. And Cold, you know, he did what he could, and still, as a solo player, of course, he's getting elim and refreshes, but eventually that was going to stop, and still in the top 10 right now. Still, you know, game one, Vivid, there's still so many more games. Zeke, you're freaking out right now. What's wrong?
Zeke, that moment, man. That's one of those moments where Cold was talking like, yo, Rapid, what happened? He was like, dude, just don't.
Just don't.
Just don't.
No, just don't. Listen, everything's fine, right? That was just the first game out of 12, right? We have 5 more today to kind of cement ourselves and prepare ourselves for day number 2. So for now, we take a step back, we chill, right? Why don't we go get some more action? Why don't we go over to the casters for game number 2?
Yeah, we definitely want more action all over this. Game 1 proved to be exciting already. Clicks and Higgs on the high ground. I didn't think too many teams would contest them until Peterbot and Pollo did it. Not once, not twice, but it looks like 3 times in a single end game.
Yeah, and they definitely were trying to go for the fight, trying to secure eliminations as opposed to just building over them and kind of keying up, locking up the positioning. No, they wanted to contest anyone who was willing to go for a victory royale in that game. You got to appreciate that. One thing I did notice about Clix and Higgs is early game was that they seemed to be very well off on Surge in comparison to a lot of the other top teams we tuned in with. Now, this could be due to zone factors. It could be due to other things. We'll see, though, Jacob. They can keep it up.
Yeah, we saw a little bit from Peterbot and Poyo, a little bit from Agers and Ritual, that the Surge plan may not have been going according to usual. But Game 2 is here, plenty of time to change it up, so let's jump into it.
With Game 2 now to be written, once again, I continue to bring our focus on top 13, that land qualification being the most important part of this entire thing. Obviously, winning a championship is fantastic. However, continue to keep pace, playing as well as we saw some of our favorites do, is exactly what we want as we start leading our way towards Germany.
Seeing if anything kind of switches up too much here. This is one of those spots we saw was going to be possibly double contested, triple contested, but this is the thing. When FNCS does roll around, those drops only mean so much because, hey, you might have a little bit of an inkling. You might want to drop somewhere else. Maybe you play roulette to try to keep teams surprised just a little bit. G-Money Magma got a whole range of space uncontested. Down low towards the south is going to be another team, and right towards the north at Dark Dominion is going to be Cold and Rapid. So even though they have space in this early game monster, it doesn't mean it's always going to stay that way.
Yeah, I saw in the feed. Really curious about what happened there with Paper. Maybe we can get a highlight from the House of Sales or something like that, but we'll catch up. A lot of fall damage happening all weekend long. We've just kind of seen it go time and time again. But G-Monster Magma, you can see splitting loot across one another as well, throwing heals, etc. Now we jump in with 7 Knaves and Tex here. Sitting above the fight that's about to go down with Noisy and his duo down low. And then you have this lurking team here to the north in the Vive.
Towards Studios, the V doesn't usually travel too far away from his drop spot. Almost everything you need from brick, metal, wood, and even a mending machine. For Knaves and Teeks kind of landing in the open, split drop. Got to make sure not to get pushed. Teeks looking like he was almost getting approached there for a moment. And this is kind of an interesting decision for Teeks and Knaves in this split area because they don't really have a lot of extra heals. They don't have a ton of materials. And now they have to go elsewhere. But you can see how contested the surrounding land it actually is. This one is not going to be an easy early game for Teeks and his duo.
Things are going to settle out there. A little bit positive damage, though. That's all you can really hope for. Meanwhile, back to Irvin. Vena, as we know, they take the north side of the boulevard. Then you have the Sanctuary having a full-on fight. As we jump in, it ends. Void, Zifta there. Finish this one up pretty quickly. They have attracted a couple other duos here to the sounds of the battle, but not near close enough to go ahead and jump in and add any influence. So nice little 8-point swing here for Voids and Zifta.
Counting right now, around 12 teams, Monster, just land on that bottom right quadrant of the map. Basically from the east side of Battlewood to around the north side of the new Sanctuary, and that's over 10% of the actual lobby, maybe even close to 20, so you can see how stacked that edge of the zone actually is. What makes it hard to rotate into the north, like you actually see it kind of shifting the zone, forcing everybody towards the top side of the map. Chance and Tyler, they went ahead and left their contested drop early on, maybe getting some loot just to get what they're missing in their loadout. It's kind of a necessary evil when you're going ahead and triple contesting the south side of Battlewood Boulevard.
Back on over to Peterbot. Boyo here. Scribbly Shores all to themselves. Not a soul in sight either. Just look at that map. No one looking to come close to their territory right now. Last game, though, Boyo continuing to just keep that tension on the rest of the lobby. We've seen him, for whatever reason or another, really shine in the heats, and now shining to start things off here for the game 1. The grand finals. But one thing's for certain, Peterbot, Boyo, you start to take away a big lead on them, they're going to make sure they influence the lobby to try to fight back as they want to play for that championship.
Yeah, one of the few teams I feel like that can single-handedly close the gap with the eliminations. For probably waiting until their back is up against the wall. Those there in Isho, familiar fight here, north side of the map, with the changes from Treetop Terrace going out and this spot kind of replacing it. Most of the loot is a little bit more focused towards the north side, which kind of causes a little bit more contested fights rather than splitting it. So for those there in Ishu, they've been landing here almost all season long, even throughout the changes. It'd be crazy to think they would leave anytime soon, especially with finals here. So for Raiden, CDZ, they're having a pretty good run from the play-ins to the heats till here. They just need to keep that momentum on their side against a team like those there in Ishu, who have also been playing pretty consistent in Division Cups and so on.
Those there Ishu are experienced as well, so Raven and CDZ just have to take note, learn from their previous games, but with this Venno curve lurking on Electro and Oak. Electro and Oak seem to feel like something is up, though. They're fully based down. They might have heard or caught some visual cues here, hence the waiting. Venno and Curve won't be able to stay here much longer. They will have to start healing here soon. In the feed, I do think CDZ found elimination, so we'll have to catch that update here in a second. What do you think's happening here?
Oh, this takes a lot of patience from Venno and Curve. They're camping the mending machine right there. They're hoping that they kind of lost Electro and Ult. Yep, just like this. They peek through. They try to access the mending machine. First shot's going to be fired, which is an important amount of damage. You said it yourself. Curve and Venno have not healed just yet. Full shield, but it's the HP that is drastic here. Curve using the splashes by himself. Not sure what Venno has on the other side, but they're keeping pressure onto Ult, not letting him try and heal up. And even though Venno just took a second there to heal up, it's that second of difference that allowed for Curve to get pushed off of his current position, take some damage, and almost reset the fight.
Yeah, I was going to say, he was definitely limited on heals, so they have to get those pieces there, but this fight's not going to end here now. Venno, Curve already have a little bit of a damage advantage in the exchange, but they were trying to hope to secure those elims. This is that fight with CDZ and Raven, so what they learned from the last game is we got to finish this one up quickly. Once we attack, we got to finish the job, and it looks like CDZ and Raven do just that, and that's going to be their first big 8 points earned here in the finals. They can say they've done more than some as far as the finals appearance goes, and let's see if they can keep it up. Meanwhile, Venno and Curve pushing aggressively to finish the battle like we knew they would. They do come out successful.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say it for CDZ and Raven. I think in a good way, they've been the biggest refresh and the biggest surprise to competitive this season. And honestly, I hope they continue to show off and show out as one of the new teams. We always talk about the new guard. Well, this is a crucial chance here because we could see a first-time finalist qualify to the Summit LAN. I think it said something about like 78 players are trying to qualify for their first LAN. And if the math just checks out, right, Monster, there are 13 spots up for grabs. That means 26 players will go to the Summit LAN. And if 78 players are trying to go to the first, that means roughly 2 to 4 players, no matter what happens here, will qualify for their first LAN in Fortnite. Exciting times.
Yep, the possibility is definitely there. I think 13 spots is very generous. Very generous. You know, most finals lobbies, when you look at the overall leaderboards, you know, you think like, oh, okay, you can drop a game or two each day and still be up towards the top 10. So that amount of grace and consistency, for sure, a new team can just have their moment here this weekend and see their way straight to the finals. It happens every year. We'll just see if it's going to be Raven and CDZ this time around. Threats and Veer, though, making do with their opportunity right now. Seem to be positioned pretty well. Last game, they were, of course, making it just past that mid-game now. Early game looking relatively decent for Muzz and Sphinx. Great end game showing from their side. Obviously a second place, nothing to scoff at. But one thing's for certain, catching storm sickness is one sad way to go out at the end.
They're one of the teams that they did deal a good amount of damage overall throughout the course. Muzz in game one had the most damage dealt out of every individual player in the game. Just goes to show that they're really just kind of building that storm surge cushion. No matter if they're positioned high up on a mountain, not far away from their drop, or here where you'd think it's kind of disadvantageous to box up next to one of those mountains, they are very, very calculated about how they approach each and every one of these zones, whether if the max pull is far away or kind of goes and turns in their favor. They're ready for whatever comes their way. And this could be another team that's a very, very similar case, especially to start the year. We had Rapid. No matter who he teamed with, it seemed like he could not be stopped. Even in the solo finals competition, Rapid was at the top of the leaderboard. And Monster, let me tell you, when Rapid was reading zones like he knew where it was going to go 100%, he was almost never wrong. And now you bring that to duos when you have Cold by your side. So if you have somebody that can lead the charge, open up opportunities for someone like Cold, this could be another one of our big contenders this weekend.
Yeah, Rapid and Cold now on teams Twisted Minds. You know, looking back to Globals, I remember the last organization that he was on, you know, the leadership over there was telling me, like, Monster, keep an eye out on this guy. I'm telling you, Rapid is next up. And look, he's only continued to do better and bigger things now leading into this first major. You know, it doesn't get any bigger than working with one of the best on the region. Visuals and Braids, though, talk about a way to start their tournament run off. You know, this is not a new guard team. This is an experienced duo here that has been playing side by side for quite a few years now, it looks like. And just really nice to see them start this off so strong.
And rightfully so, because you not only throughout the heats, but the last chance qualifier, that high ground, especially in the win in your in type format, was so contested with so many teams. So it's almost a great heads up play for Visuals and Braids. Said, you guys want high ground, you guys can fight for it. We'll control the low ground here. And while everybody was fighting for high grounds, teams that gave it up, they went down low and were in shambles. Visuals and Braids, cool as a cucumber, they made sure to make that game one count. And like you said, you can slip up on a few games, but it really plays an impact on how you get to play day number 2, whether you're having to go full aggressive to catch up on the points or just getting to have business as usual if you're on the top of the leaderboard.
Quincy Neko in a bit of a skirmish against Listen there in his duo, but you have to back off, being a little bit more passive. Don't want to get caught too long in the storm here now. You can see Aloe and Listen. Not too sure if the opponent's actually backed out of the fight just yet, so keeping that defensive stance. Then you have Reet and Cooper on the other side. Much different scenario here. No one in sight. Opting to kind of live in the storm now before just super padding out here.
I like when you say that, a super pad. A super pad. If you guys don't know, if you guys are tuning in, maybe you missed play-ins, heats, and the last chance qualifier. There are 2 launch pads at the north side of the map, this being one of them. On its own, Monster, it takes you higher and farther than regular launch pads. Now you combine that with the fizz. Now you combine that with the shock grenade. You see how high you actually go. In some cases, you're out of render distance. Teams literally can't even see you to get those shots, and you're going to show in game number 1, they kind of rotated in early. They used that launch pad. They went towards the south. This time around, they're taking a slower approach, knowing that there's different mountain ranges and edges that they can access.
Yeah, and they only earned 6 points in game 1, so they have a lot of space to make up for. You looked at anyone's kind of lobby list of who's going to perform up towards the top. Reet is surely in that conversation. He's done it before. He did it last year. Let's see if they can pick up the pace now for Major 1. You know, of the few games you can kind of dud out, having one down after game 1 is a little rough, but it's not over just yet. Venno Curve, though, on the other side. Already 2 elims. Still, once again, going from machine to machine now, just trying to stick to that same strategy. I mean, this is true and trusty, right? Look, you have G Monster Magma here. He's about to start medkitting. They're actually exposed.
Oh, just a quick peek. Venno and Curve. This time around, you saw they kind of made a play similar to this in that last game. They made sure to heal up first, but now they have quick access to the mending machine. The patchups are in with Magma down. G-Money looks like he's going for a revive, but he might end up in that same situation, but luckily Curve goes up and over, forces him down into the hand of Venno, where they're able to clean up that elimination. They fell asleep for just a second too long, and Curve and Venno strike, get the elimination, and build that cushion for Storm Surge, almost 700 above that threshold.
They're just playing so good right now. I'd probably bet that they're the furthest ahead when it comes to overall Surge right now. And their execution just couldn't be better on those 2 ambushes that they set up. Venno playing as great as ever. Obviously, coming from EU to NA, you have a lot to prove. That huge investment in yourself, right, to come on over and do the thing here on the region. and then doing it with someone like Curve, who hasn't really had that much of a chance to show how good of a player he could be, right? We've seen him play with the folks like Re and a few other top tiers, but Veno, I would say, is definitely amongst the most elite of his duo options so far.
Yeah, and I think everybody's quite pleasantly surprised. I want to give a huge shout out to Mom and Pop Curve, really believing in their son and just allowing him to follow this dream of not only just playing and competing in Fortnite, but a chance to be one of the best players in Fortnite. They get to travel the world if they're able to qualify here inside of the top 13. When we talk about history being on one team side, Acorn has that Major 1 history. I think you called it the Major 1 magic. I like that. So if Acorn can pull it off here, definitely would be a magician. 38 points in game number 1. So already a slow start for them, but you can see with the zone pulling on over toward the north side of the map, almost 300 above the damage threshold. They're just taking it one step at a time.
They're looking good. Love the positioning here on the bottom edge of that mountain. They should have no resistance from any other team. And then they go with the full metal base, so that's just showing us they're not looking to move anytime soon. Jumping on over to Clicks Higgs. Ager's Ritual side to side here. Clicks and Higgs have a little thorn in their hip, but right now just fishing for opportunity. Nothing available just yet. Muzz Sphinx is going to be the first that they put a little attack onto, but Clicks unfortunately misses those shots. And look at this. This is not actually looking too good for Muzz and Sphinx. They're just barely holding on right now.
Yeah, blessing for them to kind of make that quick rotation onto a slower side of the zone. The curse is going to be everybody's fully boxed up already in both brick and metal, so it's going to be hard to spray your way through. But they're 142 above that damage threshold, and they're not a team that goes in desperation mode just because they're below the damage threshold. That's a huge focal point for their game plan. But Peterbot and Boyo, they're just getting sprayed at from multiple teams. They're forced to reposition, having to go lower and lower onto that low ground as they reunite. The spray is not slowing down or stopping just yet. Boyo is barely surviving. Less than 50 HP left, and it's not slowing down anytime soon. They're burning through their materials. Less than 10 left on Peterbot. He's still trying to scramble around, but not really finding an open opportunity here to get back into this game.
Very smart scramble, though. Going back to all that invested metal. Trying to find himself a little bit of a safety spot amongst the chaos. And that was all because the teams in his general area needed damage. So they unfortunately found themselves positioned next to all these opponents that needed a ton of damage. They get shot up by the entire lobby, and now they have to find damage themselves. Peterbot at least gets an elimination there, so it's not a zero-sum game, but they are still so far below. Boyo has to go into the box. We've seen him do the impossible before. He gets another set of points, but how much more can he realistically do here?
Yeah, I'm not really feeling too worried, though. We saw what Boyo could do in the heats just to get to this stage, but you got to be careful. Chance does go down. Cold and Rapid just terrorizing those floors, dropping him into the box, and you're kind of see the shakeup that this lobby has right before our very eyes, and this is where we're going into these next couple zones, Monster. If we go toward the north, the northwest, or even towards the northeast, you better buckle in because we're going to be in for a roller coaster of emotions. Yes, if we go south, we go down a mountain, but it eases up the pressure from a lot of what these players are facing, and we go towards the northeast. Boyo, I hope you're ready for this ride.
Yeah, this is going to be crazy. Now, he does still have a couple shockwaves, but with Acorn here to the side, I mean, these are dangerous teams on high ground. Clicks and Higgs already looking out in the distance as well here. Boyo has found himself in so many solo situations this weekend, and he has just performed time in and time out. Feel like we're asking so much of him to keep their team on the standings right now, but hey, he is nearing a top 20. Clicks Higgs have that natural elevation to play with as well. And they are just in the best position right now that we have seen so far as making it into another top positioning endgame here.
And you see Higgs Clicks back-to-back games going for that high ground early, and you see they're focusing not only on the players kind of rotating around, but the ones that are in that fizz mist. Those are the threats to that high ground, the second height. They keep putting down that focus. Muzz and Sphinx might be one of those teams as well. They're not dropping down unless they have to. You see Boyo trying to shockwave off, probably only has one shockwave left in his inventory. You can see only down to 6 builds, and this is where it becomes just a nightmare of a situation for Boyo, but he gets a little bit of a blessing. The mist is there. Sphinx dropping down along with Muzz, trying to control their own destiny as well.
That was crazy. A little mist here to kind of support him, and he's trying to find out, hey, where was that throw? Who can I... Unfortunately, doesn't quite find the opportunity there, but just 4 builds one shockwave, so this shock has to be played almost offensively now. Can he get into a situation for a refresher here? Of course he can, finds a player there, but doesn't quite find the follow-up. This player's jumping all around him. There goes a missed tag. He's got nothing there, and into the hands of another duo. That opponent goes, so no refresh for him. Down he falls in the top 18. Getting back to the wide view, you have Clicks and Higgs on high ground. Acorn Bolts sizing up the second layer. Cold and Rapid, front side of the low ground, just playing for an ultimate end.
Yeah, and for Acorn and Bolts, they wait till the last second. They think you're out of builds, but Muzz gets in the box, ends up with one elimination, but Wager sends them right back to the lobby. And this goes to show we're in second place there in the first game, kind of going down relatively early here. Cold, along with Rapid, they're controlling one side. You see Venom and Curve controlling the other, but this is where it continues to become a nightmare. We're going down into the divot off the side of that mountain. For Clicks and Higgs, they have the biggest advantage, control over the high ground, but Osid, Scare, they're there. Agers and Ritual, they're there as well.
The problem with this is you have to use material in order to, maintain your positioning right now. This is the type of endgame you cannot practice for. Agers, Ritual, also starting to fizzle out now. You can see as they're starting to lower themselves gently down the layers here, looking for opportunity into a box. They're trying to send themselves, but no, the defense was good from the opponents there. Higgs, meanwhile, on the other side, loses a lot of shield here, forced to miss up, and Clicks as well. Very desperate situation for Height now. Acorn and Bolts finally attack, and it's theirs to secure.
Wow, Clicks and Higgs read the curve, and Venno play from a mile away. They get the elims, they get the knocks, but in comes Acorn and Bolts while they're distracted. Clicks and Higgs said, nah, you're not going to get it for free. Clicks is literally putting it all on the line. He said this is his FNCS to win if he's going to get it, and he takes down Bolts, leaving Acorn as a solo, but there's still 3 more threats in the mix. Scared, Osid, Ages of Ritual, they're still alive, but Clicks is still focused on the Acorn.
That was disgusting. Clicks goes up, Higgs breaks the foundation, and then they actually take that team down, and now it's their high ground all over again as it bounces back over their original investment here. Now they haven't picked up a refresher, but they surely have control of the skies right now. Agers and Rituals haven't quite had a time to do anything with the high ground, but they are running things on the low ground. 8 eliminations for them now, but look at the POV here from Clicks and Higgs. It is looking like a breeze fest here to the end game if they can just pressure these lobbies out and use the terrain to their advantage.
Yeah, this is definitely theirs. They're going up the side of the mountain. Another knock on the Ritual. Cooper falls. Ager's alive, and Taki's making a mad dash trying to get inside of the zone. But he falls all the same. Clicks is just cleaning up house here as him and Higgs caught fire in game 2 to take it all.
It almost feels like back-to-back performances for them right now. You saw the game 1. They are showing us how it is they want to play the grand finals this weekend, and that's height or nothing. Game 2, though, Zeke, is now wraps.
This is what I was waiting for in finals. The fight for height, Clicks and Higgs. Kelly, I can't believe it. In 8th zone, they were at it again. They're like, hey, remember our plan from game 1? We're doing that again, but this time, no one will take height from us. And now we get a game 2 victory royale?
If you have been watching any of the scrims since Heats, you would probably be a little less surprised to see Clicks and Higgs acting this way. This is something that they have prepared for, that they have studied, and you can see through the evolution of literally just over the last 2 weeks, the little adjustments that they're making in controlling height. And this was honestly a masterclass of those changes that we've seen, where they had height potentially stolen away from them twice, 3 times in that game, and their ability to just drop down 1 or 2 layers to make sure that they're not necessarily sacrificing height and have that opportunity to go back and reclaim it again. But honestly, even going back before people are trying to steal height, even the way that they're just claiming it from the start of Zone 8, where they'll build a tower and they don't actually tarp. If you notice, they'll wait till Zone kind of pulls all the way to the edge, and then they'll launch themselves forward to build a tower to take height, saving up all those materials that they're going to need for the very end game.
Almost nothing about that game makes sense. Like, it genuinely doesn't. Like, we're watching them, right? They're building up height from 8th zone. It's like, okay, you need a lot of materials to survive from 8th zone high ground all the way into the end of the game. They ended the game with 4 eliminations. I honestly thought you would need more refreshes. But then if you also take a look at the natural terrain that we were building over and had to kind of, traverse, it was mountainous, right? A lot of like dips and elevation. So you kind of have to account for that. It usually takes a little bit more builds to build over something like that. So not only did Clicks and Higgs fend off like 7 different teams amongst like an incredible amount of chaos of people just flying above them, and somehow, you know, when the dust settled, they were the ones that ended up on the higher ground. But they also made it work from 8th zone with only 4 eliminations. You got to imagine, like, how do they do that? First 2 games, Clicks and Higgs, they fended off the fight for height. They look good.
Man, and I just don't even know, Viv, how they're just in the air for so long.
Right? It's
like, dude, they're even getting hit, and it's like, it's just not enough, right? It's just not enough. They land on builds. They're like, everything's fine. We're back to full HP. Don't even worry about it. Clicks and Higgs looking so good. That was game number 2. We're going to a short break. When we come back, we'll take a look at the lobby list and start preparing for the chaos that will be game 3. We'll see you in just a minute. Welcome back, Fortnite fam, to Major 1 FNCS Finals in day number 1. Game number 2. Clicks fans, rise up. Our time is now. They get themselves a victory out in game number 2. Kelly, they went ahead and put the whole lobby on notice. We're here to play. We are here for high ground and high ground only. But there was more that happened in that game, right, Kelly? A bunch of things as we get ready to look at the lobby list. You'd think Clicks and Higgs would be in first place, because I would think that, right? Like, oh yeah, they got a big victory royale, but that's not the case, is it, Kelly?
No, it's not, because Agers and Ritual are up on top, and there is a big number that could indicate as to why, and that is their elimination number, right? They're currently leading the lobby with 13 eliminations. And yeah, for it just being 2 games, 13 is actually quite high. And of course, that's Agers and Ritual. Like I was saying earlier on at the top of show they actually have a higher amount of average eliminations in their Div Cup finals over Peter and Pollo. Agers and Ritual understand what a win condition means. And I don't mean a Victory Royale condition. I'm talking about the whole tournament. They know exactly what they need to do, Vivid, and they're showing it in our first 2 games.
Zeke completely destroyed Kelly's train of thought right there. That was awesome. Anyway, 10 eliminations for the duo just there in game number 2. As you can see, 7 on Agers, 3 on Ritual. And this is exactly what me and Kelly were kind of talking about. That elim heavy refresh style of gameplay where they try to make it work from the mid ground. Gotta give a big shout out though. You want to talk about fighting in the early game. Venno and Curd, we've kind of talked about how, you know, their drop spot, the situation over there, it's been a little bit weird. They kind of having to switch plans, but to me, it doesn't look like they switched plans at all. Because to get their Storm Surge, they've basically been taking a couple of 2v2 fights in the early game, even sometimes in the Storm itself. And it's just been working out. You would imagine if you're taking 2v2 fights, you know, the way the Storm Surge works now, it's a damage ratio. So they're taking these 2v2 fights, and they're just not really taking damage in that. How cleanly are they winning those fights?
I mean, if we're taking a look at this height still right now, it definitely was not too clean when you're kind of a little focused on a certain player and everyone else is looking up at you saying, oh, hey, he's just in the air. I'm going to take a few shots. It definitely makes it a little bit harder for you to defend yourself. But you talking about them fighting in Storm, I love that play we got to see from them fighting next to the mending machine, which actually allowed them to fight even longer in Storm and eventually get one of those eliminations. And they're, again, it's, you know, Venno, he's so smart when he plays, and to see them kind of handling this change to their drop spot situation and still being able to come out on top, I love to see it.
Yeah, as we bring up those standings, the reason we wanted to highlight, we're getting 1 more point per elim. Right, first place, Agers Ritual, 13 elims. But as we look at Curve and Venno, they already have 12, right? So we're just missing a handful of like consistency points, and then suddenly we're starting to run up that leaderboard. Cold and Rapid though, again, I feel like, Kelly, we have so much star power, right? We can look at any duo and just be like, yo, they're going crazy, and we probably would be right. But now we're kind of starting to pick up, right? We kind of talked about in that first game, maybe a little slower, a little like subdued. And even now, it's a very similar place, right? 7th place, 4th, 8th place, 5 elims. I'm kind of waiting, you know, Kelly, I'm kind of waiting for that ice cold game out of Cold.
I think how they play in tournaments is similar to kind of how they play in the end game. They kind of like to play in the mid ground. They love to play for refreshes. And if they need to go for kind of a heavy elim, they'll lock in and they'll go on the low ground. And then that's where we really see them tear. But for me, Cold and Rapid, it's less about how consistent they are and more about these insane pop-off games, Vivid, that we know that both of them individually and as a duo can pull out.
Yeah, so it'd be scary stuff for the leaderboard when we do see one of those games. Got to give a big shout out to Acorn and Bolts. I feel like that game as well, because we saw a little bit of life of them in that game where they actually attempted to go for high ground right there. So it'll be interesting to see over the course of the next 10 games if they're going to kind of continue with that plan. Although I do want to kind of talk about how this whole like lobby and how the kind of lobby plays out. Clifton Higgs, I feel like they fended off Peterbot in game number 1. I feel like they fended off a lot of teams there in game number 2. You got to imagine at some point, Zeke, these teams are kind of going to get tired of going up for it if Clifton Higgs are just going to keep beating them at that fight. And eventually it might end up where Clifton Higgs just have high ground for free. Kind of something to think about.
Yeah, man. Like you're pointing out the amount of players that have gone up to fight for it. Like, I think in any other circumstance we've seen that, it's like that team usually just like, okay, hey, my bad, like, you guys can have it. But Clicks and Higgs, they are holding on, Kelly. It's looking nice.
It's looking good, Zeke. But you know what else is looking good? Game 3.
That's right, Fortnite fam. It's game time. Buckle up. Game number 3 starts now.
Thank you. And yeah, just like that, we're approaching game 3 already. Finals days tend to go pretty quickly, but one thing's for certain, Jacob, it's too early to call anything just yet.
Yeah, I'm already kind of getting my wish. I said, I just want game 12 to matter when it's all said and done. Already a 1-point difference, proving that history lesson we gave might come true. And this is going to be an exciting time to kind of see it. Will Clicks and Higgs continue to play for the high ground? Agers and Ritual, will they wake up? Or Peterbot and Pollo. Teams right now are poking the bear. We know what type of team they could turn into day 2.
Yeah, one thing's underrated is those elimination points are starting to rack up. You're earning more for your value here when you get eliminations. So seeing someone like Agers and Rituals up at the top just because they managed to pop off in that last game, They definitely are being rewarded there on the standings. But one thing's for certain, Peterbot and Boya don't usually get lobbied like that. So we'll see what they're going to change up here for game number 3.
Consistency coming out of Clicks and Higgs so far throughout 2 games. Agers and Ritual as well, their first place on the leaderboard. Already locking down a 2nd and a 13th with 13 total eliminations. You gotta like what Curve and Veno are doing as well. Just kind of keeping it close, and that's going to be the interesting thing of how the day ends today. Really has control of how you get to play tomorrow.
You know, one thing about Fortnite is there is a little bit of luck involved. You know, when you went back and saw the highlights, I actually can't believe Higgs survived the way he did. That should have been Veno and Curve's game right there. I'm just going to say that for the record, as Paper and Rezi are getting active right now at their drop here, Jacob. Not to distract us too much, but yeah, that highlight really showed us how lucky Clicks and Higgs were there.
Yeah. Back to this fight, though. You know, Paper, that was almost a must-win as Tyler and Chance taking down Electro and Ulk early on the south side of Battlewood Boulevard. Actually, elimination probably spinning. It does look like Toronto somewhere else on the map kind of stole that one away. So they're only going to get the 1 elimination, 4 points, but they are going to get most of that loot out of the elimination. That's Toronto and Slips. Further down south outside of Battlewood, kind of split the drop down there towards the bottom. Just kind of take those little opportunities while you can. That's kind of the name of the game.
Nice little Elam for them, given that they're playing the coastal line. Back on over to the Painted Palms here. Blanks and Mako, again, managed to find a nice little victory there coming out of their heats category. Team to their north, though, again, you're going to find a lot of duos trying to hold down the vending machines at the POIs. They're basically death traps. You got to be super careful when approaching those areas. Raven CDZ coming off a hot little victory of an early game battle for themselves, but wasn't able to convert anything else after that game, too.
Feels like for them, they've been almost 3 different drops throughout the 3 games that we've seen so far. Top side of the map, we saw them take on Dozier Ishu, go against Chris and Drew, and now against Threats and Beer. Just trying to find their spot on a map like this is not going to be the easiest thing, especially a team like Threats and Beer who just want to rid everyone out of their POI. It's a legendary POI, so you can see exactly why they're fighting. More loot, more gold, more opportunity if they're able to get it to themselves. If they can go through at least 1 box of pizza, all Threats healed. Beer is kind of put the pressure down so that way they can't easily turn and burn to try to take down Threats in a 2v1.
See what Raven and CDZs can take away from this finals as a whole, because they're starting to notice, I think, that
Drop a message in text chat and keep it friendly.
Tell me that you do. Dirty, dirty boy.